All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? Just wanted to do a quick one on kind of the preseason game and kind of what I saw. I mean, it's just a preseason game, so nothing crazy, nothing extensive. But it was very interesting to see what had happened. I think the biggest thing, first off, is typical preseason fashion. The Golden Knights had Stone, Patches, McNabb, Whitecloud, and Theo as regulars, and all but Whitecloud and Pacioretty, and Stevenson. So they lost McNabb, Theodore, and Stone to injuries. I mean, typical preseason, right? The one thing you try to avoid is injuries, and half of their regulars got injured in some fashion. So, but they had some good lines. Stone went out almost immediately. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of, I mean, luckily, like, you don't see blood, and it didn't look like anything serious, but he gets hit with a deflected puck right in the ear. And of course, they're going to take him out. I mean, this is Vegas' star player. No point in wasting or further injuring Stone on a preseason game, right? But it was kind of nice in a sense that it gave you some other looks of maybe down the line of who could Pete DeBoer put with Pacioretty and Stevenson, you know? Does Nolan Patrick work his way up? Does Peyton Krebs work his way up if, God forbid, something happened, you know? And I will say another thing that I noticed most was Patrick Dadonov. Dadonov with his speed was something that I noticed right off the bat. I mean, that dude can fly. He almost had a goal. Vegas, we all know how terrible and god-awful their power play was last year. They get a power play goal, and they had some different looks for sure. And I know it's just one game. They only had 2 power plays. Scored on one of them, but they definitely showed some kind of improvement. And I know it's not, the regular roster, but it was good to see some actual movement, some things by the end of the postseason last year, you just saw it was embarrassing, like nobody had any confidence. They didn't know what to do. But Nolan Patrick, I think, is going to cement himself as a solid NHL player this year. The way he plays in front of the net, I mean, he created quite a few chances, got an assist on Pacioretty's goal. I think that's one thing they were definitely missing on the power play, is that net front presence that can tip, can get rebounds. I think that's Nolan Patrick. I think he's going to be a good fit. He was very noticeable. Like I said, Dadonov with that speed and that shot. And I'm excited. So Vegas got, I think it was a 3rd round pick. It's guy Lucas Cormier. He actually was won Defenseman of the Year in the QMJHL. And out of all the defensemen, like I said, they lost McNabb and Theo. So they were very limited by the end of the game. He was one that I noticed in sense of, like, obviously, this kid, I think he's 18, 19 maybe, definitely needs to work out, needs some time to develop, right? But out of any defenseman besides Theodore, I noticed him the most. The way he kind of made some moves, his vision, his, that first pass out of the zone was something that I noticed with him. So I'm definitely excited to see what he can do. I mean, he just won Defenseman of the Year. And I mean, when you win that in any league, that's definitely a good sign. So definitely wanted to see more of him, but unfortunately with camp, there's no chance he was making the roster. So he got sent back to the queue. And then Peyton Krebs, who didn't get on the score sheet, and he actually had a brutal turnover that turned into a goal. But one thing I do like with Krebs that I've noticed every single game he plays is his effort. There's absolutely zero question on what that kid can do. You're never going to question whether he's giving 100% every shift. And I think a little bit of development, I think some time with the big league, and I think some better line mates, and that dude could really take off this year. So I was happy about that. They lose 4-2. Logan Thompson, who won AHL Goalie of the Year, definitely was good, but I mean, he gave up a couple goals that were just on brutal turnovers, literally right in the front of the net. And I mean, you couldn't even blame Andrei Vasilevsky if he gave up those goals, So yeah, it was definitely an interesting game. Sucks to lose your regulars like that in a preseason game, although I will say you could definitely tell who was the NHL players and who weren't. Paul Cotter caught my eye. Definitely scored a nice goal. Made some nice dekes too. But if they do and when, I should say if and when they get an injury, I definitely want to see him called up to get a chance. Him and Dugan too. So it was overall, it wasn't a bad game. I mean, it's preseason, and it was against the Sharks. You never want to lose to the Sharks, preseason or not. But it was good. I'm excited to see. There's a game tonight, so definitely excited to see what they can do against the Avs. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting year. I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of changes this off season, and it's going to be interesting to see who makes the roster. There's a lot of pressure on this team. A lot of pressure on the front office, a lot of pressure on DeBoer, a lot of pressure on everybody. I mean, Krebs, as Vegas fans, we're just dying for that first homegrown drafted prospect to really make an impact. So yeah, it's a big year for that kid too. I mean, do you want to burn his ELC? I mean, Vegas needs production on ELC contracts. They're just, I mean, they traded away Flower just to get more scoring, you know? And it's not like they have all the cap space in the world. I mean, they're fortunate in a sense that Tuck is gone for the first couple months of the year on LTIR, you know, gives them a little bit of wiggle room. But this cap strap team, I don't know how much they're going to be able to do come trade deadline. So yeah, we'll see. It was a fun preseason game. Definitely, if you can, watch the one tonight. And yeah, hopefully we see some more good signs. So thank you guys. Take care.